I'm Doug Holdreed, and this PowerPoint is designed to accompany Exploring Art, a Global Thematic Approach, Chapter 11, Power, Politics, and Glory. Throughout the history of art, artistic creations have been used as devices to glorify and magnify an earthly ruler and emphasize the divine nature of that individual. Art objects have also been used as symbolic representations of divinity and of authority. The ancient Egyptians had a very complex understanding of the soul. One of the aspects of the soul, called the Ba, was able to travel beyond the confines of the tomb. But the Ka needed an image, needed a likeness to attach itself to. Therefore, we have the many representations of pharaohs from ancient Egypt. When we look at these sculpture pieces today, they look very different than they did in their original form, because originally they were generally painted with bright colors that has worn off in the course of time. These representations of African rulers are created, well, the one on the left is from Africa, the one on the right is from Cambodia, but these are examples of cast bronze, a technique where, or also known as lost wax casting, where the original sculpture was done in beeswax and then replaced with cast metal. Here the medium is mosaic, a technique where little bits of colored glass are put together to form the image. This is Justinian, one of the Roman emperors after the legalization of Christianity in ancient Rome. And you can see that he's surrounded by religious figures which were part of his royal court. Sometimes special objects were created and used to enhance the status of the ruler. They weren't necessarily valuable in and of themselves, but they had that symbolic value. The object that we're going to see here in just a second is one of those objects that had a sort of symbolic meaning and a symbolic value. This is a bear claw necklace, and it's obviously not of great value. It's not made of gold or jewels or anything, but it did have the symbolic meaning of religious and of social authority. Contemporary political leaders still use images, even though they're not necessarily works of art. Today, political aspirants and world leaders use newspaper images and television images as propaganda to reinforce their rule and authority. Palaces and the houses of government, the seats of government, are also important in terms of establishing and reinforcing the perceptions of power. And of course, we have monuments, great places that reinforce our perceptions of authority. That includes palaces, which are often very lavish and ornate, and examples of that occur in ancient Persia, where we had the royal audience hall, and in Mesoamerica with Palenque. If you use your imagination, you can really envision Palenque being a very, very elaborate and beautiful place in its heyday. Of course, today it's in ruins, but it was once brightly painted, and of course in the center of a city with lots of activity going on. This is the interior of the imperial throne room in Beijing, China, in the Forbidden City. And again, it's very lavish, very ornate, highly ornamented, highly decorated, and it reinforces once again the perception of the importance and the power of the emperor. This next image is from ancient Persia, and once again we have what's left of a very elaborate and impressive imperial city that existed during the time of Alexander the Great, who conquered Persia among other places. This is the Parliament in England, and you can sort of sense and feel that this was inspired by the Gothic tradition. While our U.S. Capitol is modeled after ancient Greece and Rome, the classical tradition, in Britain they reached back to their European roots and to the religious heritage that's embodied in the Gothic. We also have works of art that are in the service of war and in the service of rousing passion for war. Art that depicts warriors and fortifications and weapons that are also works of art, and scenes of war. The piece that we're looking at here is from the Toltec culture in Mexico, and these are symbolic representations of Toltec warriors that probably roused patriotism and the fervor to go out and fight in wars in the name of the Toltec civilization. Here we have the Palette of Nermir. This is an object that commemorates an important war in the history of ancient Egypt, the unification of the upper and lower kingdoms. So this is another example of art that honors and recognizes war. The triumphal arches of the ancient Romans really didn't serve any practical purpose, but they did commemorate, often commemorate wars. In this case, this is the Arch of Titus, and it commemorates the triumph of the general Titus over the Jews in 70 A.D. And here we have a scene from the Kamakura period in ancient Japan. And again, we have depicted in this piece a scene from a great battle of that period. So once again, a work of art that recognizes and glorifies war. We have art that that honors and recognizes peace as well. Edward Hicks' Peaceable Kingdom is an example of that. Hicks was a Quaker who belonged to a religion that refuses to participate in war. And then we have this piece. This is the altar to Augustine piece, which was erected in honor of Augustus Caesar, but also recognizing something called the Pax Romana, or the Roman peace. And here we have the headdress of Montezuma, the ruler of the Aztec people. This headdress was given to Cortez, the Spanish conquistador, as a peace offering, as